the world of valet parking, we are in the service industry. What does that mean? Here in America, people sometimes frown down upon people that are in the service industry. So anybody who pushes a broom, such as a janitor, in our particular case, a valet parker. I like to equate a lot of things inside to the restaurants, so even a server. So what that means, people sometimes think that they're better than you. And with that being said, these are going to be the next 5 cases of things that really piss off a valet, and a lot of them have to do sometimes with, if we listen to the last story, and it's going to be a Karen alert, that will explain exactly what I'm talking about. Now, the first thing that really pisses off valets, and remember, I was a valet myself for over 12 years, so anything I speak of is, of course, from experience on my own side, but then I hear it again from valets. But this will be an example of last Thursday or the Thursday before, which was Thanksgiving, and I was out in the field and I got to see some of these things, and I'm like, man, this really irks you as a valet. And the first thing I'm talking about is when people lose their valet parking stubs or the valet parking tickets. The reason why, we have to now track down your vehicle. But before that, we have to track down your keys, because the other side of that ticket is attached to your keys, which is inside of our locked key boxes. Well, what happens, these people lose their tickets, they lose it on the floor, they drop it somewhere, and then they come out and they're like, oh, I just have the black Mercedes. Hey, we can have, honestly, 20 black Mercedes at one time. So it becomes really difficult. So they're like, it's a S-Class, S500 or something like that. But we can't just say, okay, let's just get a black S-Class and be like, this is it, and they'll say yes and leave. We can't do that. So we have to now verify if this car is theirs. How do we do that? We ask them, A, for their ID, which really pisses them off. They don't want to have to pull their ID out to prove that that this is their car. But what I try to explain to people, this is for your safety as well as ours. We don't want to just give anybody who says they have a black Mercedes your car and just go away. Sometimes we have to cross-check that with the registration. If it's not registered to them, then it's a bigger story. What's something that's inside of your glove box or inside of your center console that's extremely specific? These are all things that we have to do. We don't ask for a license plate, because anybody can walk around a parking lot, see a license plate that says K47 whatever 943 and say, oh yeah, that's my license plate. We need something that you know specifically to this car, so we know this car belongs to you. And they get upset about it and they get pissy about it, but this really pisses off the valet. Now, what we do sometimes, which is kind of dangerous also, we tell people take a picture of your valet ticket if you think you're going to lose it. So a lot of times they do that, and they can backtrace it. But here's the dangerous thing. If you drop your ticket and some criminal or someone dishonest picks it up, they can now come back out and claim your car. And most valets, if there's 10 of us running around, we don't know specifically you didn't get out of that car. So theoretically, that's a pass to get your vehicle and drive away. So that's extremely dangerous. We have to make sure that happens. But that really pisses us off, because they kind of downgrade the valet when we're trying to ask them for that information for their own safety. The next thing that really irks the valet is people that come out and say, oh, I'm sorry, we don't have any money to tip you. Now, we just discussed in the last episode about digital technology, which are able to now pay people digitally. So we'll say, hey, we accept Cash App, Venmo, or any of the PayPals, and a lot of people will act dumb and be like, oh, I don't even know what any of that stuff is, so I'll just get you next time, and they leave. Or they won't say anything, they'll just slam the door and leave. And a lot of times people don't have cash on them, and we're perfectly okay with that. But all you have to say is, I'm so sorry, I don't have any cash on me, I promise to get you the next time. And most valets will accept that and be nice, but if you slam the door and don't say a word to a valet, that really pisses a valet off. So please acknowledge the valet for the job that they just done for you in a very nice and successful way, but please do not ignore them, and please do not belittle them as you drive away. Now, this next one is mine. This pisses me off really badly. Again, I'm going to bring a lot of these examples up from Thanksgiving Day. We had a line of cars, at least 15 cars long, ready to go into valet. So valets are trying to go as quickly as possible to get all the doors, get the people out. And this is what I explained to the restaurant managers. When we're hired initially, the valets can only go as fast as the people literally get out of their car. I could bring in 100 valets, but again, we can only go as fast as the people get out of the car. So if the people take their time getting out of the car, we have to sit and wait for them. And for a valet, we're just sitting there like, waiting for these people to get out of the car, and it really drives us crazy. So what we have to do, we would hope that if you're in this long line, you're putting your shoes on, you're getting your stuff in your purse and all that, not pulling up to the front and then deciding to now do all this stuff. That drives us crazy. You know for 5 or 10 minutes that you've been waiting in this line to get up front that this is stuff I'm gonna have to do when I get up to the front. But once you get up to the front, the valets open the doors, or here's another thing, they don't unlock the doors. They do not unlock the doors until they're fully finished putting the stuff in their purse, grabbing their cell phone, putting their shoes on. We're like, open the door so we can at least put the ticket in the dash and do that part of it at least. It drives us crazy, or at least me. That's one of my biggest pet peeves, when people do not get out of the car. Now, the next thing with valet parking that drives us crazy, and I actually asked, remember Patrick? I called him and said, hey, what pisses you off as a valet? And I had already written it down, but I wanted to see what he said. And he said the same exact thing. When we pull up a car and two parties are still talking to each other that are in two different cars, and the valet's just sitting there outside of the door, just waiting for the people to get in, and of course to receive our tip. So we're sitting there and it's like, okay, it's been about 2 minutes. Okay, it's been about 3 minutes. All right, let me go, because there's a line of other people that need their cars to be brought up. So let me run, go get the other car quickly, come back within 30 to 60 seconds, and then I'll get the tip from the first car. But what do you think happens? The moment we run away to get that next car, the person gets in the car quickly and drives off without tipping us. And they do that all the time. In the beginning, I thought, okay, maybe this is just one particular case where a person does, but it's a pattern. People do that all the time. So some of the valets have learned the trick of, if that happens and someone does do that and they're not getting into their car immediately, we shut the car off and take the key with us for our security, and we take off. So when the customer tries to jump in the car, they're like, oh, where's my key? We say, oh, sorry, we didn't want to leave your car unattended while you were having a conversation, so here's your key right here. That's the way we get tipped that way. So that's actually a little trick that valets do to make sure people don't jump in the car and take off without tipping or paying their fee first. And now here comes the worst one that we all hate, which was people that accuse us of doing something that we didn't do. Now, it's very easy to blame a valet for doing something that they might not have done, but remember, I don't want to call it, and I say this in not in a way you think, but when a foreign person is in your car, and I don't mean a foreign person from another country, but a foreign person who's usually not in your car, gets out of your car, then you become more alert to the smells, the sounds, the rips, the dents, the dings, the tire, what's it called, curbing your rim or something like that. So a lot of these things happen all of the time, and we have to be extremely careful to make sure we do something called PED beforehand, which is a pre-existing damage walk, to make sure we can go over the entire car to make sure there's no pre-existing damages. Well, this one particular case, which you know from Thanksgiving 2 weeks ago, we get this voicemail.
Hi, my name is, and I would like a call back. I just had an encounter with your two valets I would like them both fired. They have ruined an $80,000 car, and I expect a phone call back immediately. I will keep calling you. They were rude, they were hostile, and they are incompetent. Please call me back. I will be filing a lawsuit if I do not hear back from you. Thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving.
And on this voicemail, obviously you can see this lady is very upset with us. She wants to fire two of my valets. And two of my valets are almost the nicest valets. One of my valets, Langston, who she was saying was hostile, is one of the quietest, most introverted guys in the world. And what that story was all about, she had a BMW X5, and I think it was a 2018 or 2019. And so when the valet pulled the car forward, he didn't notice anything, but when the lady got in the car, she noticed her screen, her onboard computer screen, was black. So she just flipped her bananas. And she started, what did you do to our car? And Austin said, hey, I didn't do anything. In fact, I didn't even notice. I just pulled the car up. I got out of the car. Here it is. I didn't touch anything. I only pushed the start button, and that was it. So Langston, our manager, said, well, did you check the manual? Because she's like, it wasn't like that before. And Langston, just trying to be a good person, is like, hey, did you check the manual? And she got upset about that. And she just went off and went into this whole tyrant about what was going on. So she left the voicemail and we called her back. But beforehand, I had to call the valets and say, hey, what is she upset about? And they said she's upset because her screen went black and they ruined her $80,000 car. So what do? Google. One of my favorite things. I Google, and about 10 articles popped up on how BMWs, the screens are going black on some of the customers. So what it turns out that usually that indicates there's a software update that's needed. There's nothing to kind of let you know it's going to happen. It just kind of happens. So they usually call the BMW dealer. They'll say, bring it in. They'll do a software update, or that happens. If you have a car advanced enough, at night, the car will update itself when it connects to the Wi-Fi of your house. Then when you wake up in the morning, it's fixed. But this lady was not hearing it. She was very evil. She was hostile. And in a sense, yes, I didn't say it. The valet said it, and a lot of you guys said in the comments, she was a Karen. She was driving the car. Her husband was in a passenger seat, and she had 2 teenage boys. But this is the way she's speaking to valets that are in that position. And I do not like that at all. Did I call her back that night? No. I wasn't going to ruin the rest of my evening because of her attitude. So I called her the next business day, and of course, she doesn't call us back. You know why? Because the car updated itself, and it probably worked the next time she started the engine. But these are some of the things we have to deal with, and they drive us crazy. So these are top 5 things do not do to your valet that pisses them off. If you are a valet yourself, then I'm sure you can relate to some of these stories, but these are some of the things that we do, or people do, that we do not like.